So I thought I'd do a quick video here on FlexTrack. I started out, this is the N gauge mine train, which will use HO narrow gauge engines and cars. I started out by using the modular, standard pieces, straight curves, and things like this. And every place, of course, you have a pair of joiners that you have on each one of them. And that was a pretty good start. But what I did notice that because of all the joints, the little N gauge cars and engines really don't like going over the joints, no matter how try cleaning you try to make them. So I've been changing everything over to these pieces of FlexTrack. They're pretty long. I can order them. I order these from Amazon and Hobby Store online also. So what it looks like, if I go closer here, you can see there's a cuts on one side of it all the way along. And what happens is when you actually allows it to be flexed like this. And if you notice when I flex it, look at the end. You can see that as I turn that curve, making that an inside curve, it's actually shorter than the outside track, and you'll see the rail end sticks out. So that's something you have to consider when you're doing this. So what I've done is when I start putting it in, I've used a lot of FlexTrack here on this mine train layout. Pretty much all converted to FlexTrack. I have done a couple places where I didn't put FlexTrack, and I'll tell you why that is. So here, for example, I'm coming off of a switch. I want to separately power each one of these spurs. You can see here I have these little insulator joiners here. I go up and I then go to where I put the power in. So these are standardized curves, N scale curves, and I make those joiners there, and then after there I take and run FlexTrack all the way around. I do find that this is a pretty positive way to make things match very quickly and smoothly. The FlexTrack likes to be joint pretty much when it's on a straight. I'll see if I have a couple joints here. Well, ran this one all the way up to another switch. Once again, I have the insulators there because I want to basically keep this spur. It comes this direction as a separately powered spur. You can see that here, separately powered spur. So it comes around here, over, and this is where I'm mating it up now. So what I've done here is, once again, I have that spur isolated, and as you move these, you'll see you can tighten up on the joints or release them. You always got to be careful when you move these around. The joints will open up because of that shifting of the diameter of the curve. And so here, what I typically do is I go to one end and I make sure I have a nice tight joint. So this is the joint. Here's FlexTrack on this side. It's going into this remote switch. And so as I turn this out now, what's going to happen, you see how the two ends are the same distance. They're cut differently. What's going to happen as I turn this, you see what happens? The rail that's on the inside needs to be shorter, and if I straighten it, you can see it is shorter. And I make it the curve I need to match this section here. You'll see that it becomes even. And you always have to go back before you start nailing this down. Go back and check how your joints are tight at this end. Typically what I do is I line it up and I put a couple of the small nails in here to hold it in place. So as I twist it around, it has a tendency to stay, but you always need to come back and check. The easiest way I've found to cut these tracks, is I use was my dad's old Dremel. And I use a thin metal cutting blade. You can see that right there. You can get this for these Dremels. This comes, you can get different blades for it. This pops out. This is a single speed one, and a variable speed one would be nice, but this is the one I have. Works pretty well. Always wear safety eye coverings when you do this. I actually went and bought myself a pair of safety glasses that have actually, for us older people, actually have lenses in them. Got this on Amazon, like for a couple, I don't know, $10 or so. Definitely worthwhile having. It keeps your eyes safe, but you can still look and accurately cut. So what I do here is, of course, I turn it on and I bring it down. I try to bring it down as parallel as I can to the cutting area. Here and here. And I did the same thing here. So I get these all lined up. I get one side cut, and sometimes it takes a little tiny trimming going back and forth to trim it so that you get a nice tight joint. Remember, always go back and check your far end to make sure that still has a tight joint on that end before you hook it all up. Anyway, that's my experience with this FlexTrack. I definitely like it. It makes the running of the engines and cars, particularly the cars, are very sensitive to slight imperfections. The mine cars I have here are very lightweight. They really don't like, sometimes they don't even like going over switches. So I have to make sure I have the switches in a good place. They're switched in the right place. All these edges are nice and tight. Here I have a little gap here. I got to turn that up. See, it was like that. I have to turn that up there and get that gap closed up. And there's more insulators here. You see here I have insulators. So this is going to become a spur. This is a spur. This spur goes over to the elevator here, the hoist. And this is where the ore is dumped into the ore side lift. Anyway, this is where I've gotten this far done. I'll basically be looking forward to going to the fall show and showing this off. And hopefully I'll have some of the terraforming done at that time. You can see here, this is where I'm working on, getting the next piece in here. You can see this is getting them all lined up. They like to join straight. So if you can get them so that they join straight, I'm going to have to cut here and cut the one underneath to get a nice place where they go straight. This FlexTrack works better when they join straight. You see I've had to play around with it here a little bit to join on a curve. You can do it, but it is a little more difficult. So anyway, that's my experiences with using FlexTrack. Definitely would recommend it. Once again, you can see here I have a straight coming off of the switch. I have where my power comes in, and then this is a standard curve, standard piece you can buy, and then I go into my FlexTrack here. So anyway, you can see what's going on there, and that's what I would recommend.